every year marks another year, that there's no closure. Yeah, I still have insomnia 30 years after the fact. I wish I'd solved the crime for the families. We tried. I was a cop for 32 years at Austin PD. I'll always be associated with that case. There's no getting away from that. I just hope one of these days we can put this thing to bed.
Jonesy?
Yeah.
You hear about the call 2900 West Anderson?
Yeah, I'm headed over there. The call occurred at 11:27 p.m. Homicide 4.
Homicide 4.
Did you get my other out there? I was the lead investigator on the I Can't Believe This Yogurt Shop murder case. On December 6, 1991, there was a robbery, fire, and murder committed.
It's all right, I'll make the call myself.
The victims were Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, Eliza Thomas, and Amy Ayers. I can still see them. I can still see the inside of that place. That stuff's indelibly burned in my mind.
There has never been in Austin a more grisly, ugly crime.
There's 4 girls in there, and they're all beautiful girls, and they're very young. They're cleaning up, they lock up the yogurt shop, and then we believe it to be 2 individuals. Came in, they forced them to the back room at gunpoint.
I lost my sister Eliza Thomas in the yogurt shop murders. I was 13. Yeah, I was 13 when my sister died. The whole city was in shock. Everywhere we drove, there were these billboards with a picture of my sister on it. And so it's like, you just hold on to anything you can to get through these moments that are so impossible.
We went where the case took us.
Open the door, police!
We're either going to charge some people and get them in jail or clear them from this case.
I don't know how many murders I've tried. It's unlike anything I've ever done before. It's nothing but one unexpected twist after another.
Do you believe that there is right now some evidence that could lead to the killers?
Yes.
Yes, I know who did this. I just don't know his name.
Is this the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end?
What comes up first when you think of this case?
It's been 30 years, 7 months, 5 days, and I still can't believe it.
1991, 4 teenagers were shot and murdered inside a yogurt shop in this strip mall.
I don't know that the city of Austin has ever been the same. It was just unspeakable.
The place was set on fire. They were bringing in anybody who was a little bit different.
No, just
I killed somebody. They're using techniques that can lead to false confession.
We were asking for any tip.
people started calling me. We had so many suspects.
But it was never solved.
It's very frustrating not having answers. It has consumed me.
As time goes on, it takes a toll on you.
I got diagnosed with PTSD. The older I get, the less I can remember.
And you just have all those regrets of not protecting them. They don't think the trauma ever loses its potency.
There's been nothing like it before. There's been nothing like it since.
The I Can't Believe It's Not Yogurt murders have had a profound effect on everyone involved, still haunting the city of Austin, as you hear from the law enforcement side of things. The guy has been diagnosed with PTSD. The victims' families, the community as a whole just can't put it to rest, can't just put it behind them. As you see over the years, the billboards, there was merch sold for awareness reasons. They're just given out, from coffee cups to pins, signs everywhere, billboards, marches in honor of justice, or finding justice, or remembering those whose lives were lost, as those 4 young ladies. The 2 working there, 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, her sister Sarah, who was 15 years old, who just happened to be there. Also Jennifer Harbison, also 17 years old, who also worked there. And then 13-year-old Amy Ayers, who was there. So 2 who worked there, 2 of them being sisters, and then just 2 who were there. 4 teenagers killed. The place lit on fire, 2 weapons used, a .22 and a .380, and a whole lot has happened since then, including different individuals being locked up, as you heard. Some people believe that there was forced confessions, as that's not something that's out of the ordinary back in the day. Just one case that comes to mind off the top of my head. Some people feel differently about it. The Central Park 5 case, where people were held in interrogation rooms for hours, withheld privileges of going to the bathroom, food, water, and just asked the same questions over and over. And a lot of studies have said that that's just not the way to do it, that breeds false confessions. Now, there were 4 young men who were suspects, taken into custody, let out of custody. But the one thing that really linked these individuals to the crime was that this one guy, Maurice Pierce, one of the 4, he was arrested at a mall not far from the yogurt shop with a .22 caliber gun, one of the same types of weapons believed to have used in the killings. Now, that all took place days after this horrific crime back in 1991. Again, a crime that just still haunts the city of Austin, Texas. Again, from law enforcement, victims' families, just people in the community. They want answers, but they were taken into custody. The one guy had the .22, but they were let out, no charges. In 1999, they put together a task force specifically to investigate this crime. And when things got back active investigation that time around, this new team of investigators got confessions from 2 of the 4 men, Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott. Right, those 2 confessed. Maurice Pierce was the guy that had the .22 at the mall. He didn't confess. The confessions, were later called into question, like we were just speaking of. A lot of people feel the way things law enforcement did it a lot of the time was not the way to go about doing things, you know what I mean? And these guys also recanted the confessions, saying that they were coerced. Now, even after the task force involvement, the confessions being thrown out, everything that happened, charges ended up being dropped against Pierce and Forrest Wellborn, 2 of the 4, due to lack of evidence. Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott, they were the only 2 to go on trial, and the only evidence was their own words, right? They were both convicted, but years later, those convictions were overturned on constitutional grounds, right? The 6th Amendment gives defendants the right to confront accusers, and in Scott and Springsteen's trials, their confessions were used against one another, but they weren't allowed to question each other in court. So it was a whole, case law, legal aspects to it. It's just a messy case from the beginning, the way it was handled. And again, think about it. This happened in 91. They didn't start arresting these guys and trying to try them until 99. And again, not a lot of evidence. It is suspicious that the one guy got caught with the 22 way back when, but no charges come against him. That it's not until this 1999 task force that things began and happening. But in those clips that I was playing you, where you heard the one guy talking about he's never seen a case like this with all the twists and turns and what means what, you never know what the truth is or not. Everyone's head's just spinning in circles with just how, I don't want to say bizarre this case is, but just what a mess it is ultimately at the end of the day. The DA, after these two guys got off on constitutional arguments and legal motions filed, the DA wants to retry these guys, right? But this is where the real crazy swerve happens in the case. Springsteen and Scott are the two who got their stuff overturned, right? So the DA is like, we're going to retry them. But before they did that, they decided to take advantage of what was then a fairly new type of DNA testing called YSTR testing. Now, comment anyone before if you've heard of this specific type of DNA testing. As we know, over the years, there's been a lot of people freed from custody. There's been on the grounds of DNA, there's been a lot of people released who were innocent on the grounds of DNA. Or I think that's the same thing I just said, but there's been also a lot of cases solved because of DNA as technology evolves. But this particular type of DNA testing, YSTR testing, right? It's a way of searching for and extracting male DNA only. And the reason for this is because even with the fire and all that, what remained at the crime scene, they believed that, again, a robbery occurred, a murder occurred, and they believed that one of the women was actually assaulted. So this YSTR testing was ordered on vaginal swabs taken from the victims way back in 91 at the time of the murders. By this point, investigators had come to believe, like I said, one of them had been assaulted. And after the YSTR testing, a partial male DNA profile was obtained from one of the girls. But the surprise, the swerve here, that the DA office, they're like, we're retrying and we're going to get them this time. We got this new DNA technology. This will give us some extra evidence to put these evil bastards away. Well, the sample didn't match any of the four who were arrested. So here they go. They're ready to get back to trying to get some justice. Technology's on their side now. It's evolving. But what? It doesn't match anyone? Like, are you kidding me? So this DNA expert, C.C. Moore, right, and a genetic genealogist whom this publication in which I'm citing here interviewed, told correspondent Aaron Morarity that YSTR DNA is a tool sometimes used in criminal cases. It can eliminate almost everyone except the suspect. So, that's a tough thing, because if you have a sample that you can say, this is the guy, it's a needle in a haystack, unless someone's done one of those 23andMes. Or if, just to give an example, I knew of a situation in New York State where I lived, where anytime someone is convicted, the laws have changed now. Back then it was, if you were convicted of a felony, or you touched down and went to a state prison, you had to give a DNA sample. Now, in some instances, depending on the crime, they take DNA samples even for misdemeanors. And there was a lot of times that once someone's sample was put into the database through those means, cold cases would be solved. So in a situation like this, you're hoping, hey, we can find who this guy is. It's a needle in a haystack, but his sample's got to be somewhere out there. It's messed up, because it's like, they don't want to hope that this evil monster committed some other crime or something like that and left DNA or was convicted. You don't want more people to be hurt, but one way or another, you want there to be a sample out there that you can tie to a person. You know what I mean? It's all very tricky. But if their YSTR does not match, they didn't contribute to that DNA. Because of where that DNA was found, yes, in this case, it's super important. It was found in a vaginal swab. But prosecutors still were determined to retry these guys, Springsteen and Scott, even though they did not match this YSTR DNA test. But before doing so, they wanted to figure out who the mystery DNA belonged to. And just for the record, too, multiple outlets are running limited series, documentary series. I think HBO has a 4-part one coming out about these. I can't believe it's not yogurt murders. I think Paramount might be doing one. Maybe Peacock. I'm not exactly quite sure. I know one is HBO for sure, but as far as the other ones, I'm not positive. But the DA said more than 100 men, such as crime scene investigators and personnel from the medical examiner's officers who might have come in contact with the body and possibly been a source of contamination, were tested, which to me, that's pretty crazy. If they're getting it from vaginal swabs, how could that be contaminated? Are they just saying people weren't handling it with the samples with care, with gloves, as they should, like just not practicing hygiene and proper protocol? I don't know, but they tested anyone who could have came in touch with this stuff and contaminated it. And, there was no results at all in any way. So in 2009, with no matches, the charges against both these guys were dropped. And after nearly 10 years behind bars, they were released. I forgot to, initially mention that even though the cases were getting picked up, dropped, tried, thrown out on grounds of different legal motions, dudes still sat behind bars for 10 years, but they weren't exonerated, which is crazy. So the door was still open that they could be retried at a later time. For years, officials kept trying to track down the source of the mystery DNA. Then, in 2017, an Austin police investigator searched a public online database used for population studies to see if he could get a hit. Unbelievably, he did. It seemed to be the most promising lead in years. But there was a problem. The seemingly matching sample in the public database had been submitted anonymously by the FBI and had no name attached to it. And then, when the law enforcement offices in Austin reaches out to the feds, letting them know the whole deal, hey, we have this horrific case that's been haunting the police, haunting the community. Like, we need answers here. People said 10 years behind bars, were released, just the whole spiel. The feds say, we can't. Privacy laws. Isn't that crazy? Why are the feds covering this up? What's this all about? So, without really needing to express how frustrating this was for the city, a congressman, Michael McCall, who is from Austin, he, presses the FBI for helps, and he learned in 2020 the feds agreed to work with the Austin PD to see if further testing could be done on that YSTR DNA from the crime scene. Initially, the sample from the crime scene was not very detailed and had only 16 markers, but more advanced testing in 2020 came up with an additional 9 markers, bringing the total marker count to 25. So this is where it gets a bit confusing for me. Like I said, this DNA stuff, technology, as time goes on, things change, science changes, but now they're saying there's more markers in the DNA. However, more advanced testing revealed that the sample from the crime scene no longer proved to be a match to the sample in the public DNA database. How does that happen? Is there a cover-up going on? Like, none of this is really making sense to me. That's why I'm saying I definitely am going to tap into this documentary, and I urge everyone else out there as well. This is, again, I mean, it's a horrific crime that happened, and teenage girls were killed. People sat behind bars, seemingly innocent. Justice needs to happen. People need answers. Everyone wants answers, but this shit, pardon my language, just isn't making sense at all. You know, like, is this some kind of cover up or what? But the more advanced testing revealed that the sample from the crime scene, no longer proved to be a match to the sample in the public database. And then the congressman from Austin, he got a letter from the feds, and that explained that there was these new results, right? And it, quote unquote, conclusively exclude the male donor of the FBI sample. As such, the FBI YSTR profile is not an investigative lead. And listen, I'm no scientist. I'm just a guy making this content here. But how can that be? How does that make any sense? You know what I'm saying? Quote, that was the greatest disappointment because we really thought we had it, Congressman McCall told Variety. Still, McCall says that he and Austin officials will not rest until they determine who that DNA from the crime scene belongs to. This sounds like some kind of federal cover-up to me. And listen, the feds are the feds. There's the good guys, there's the bad guys. Just like in life, in the streets, in law enforcement, there's good guys and there's bad guys. And it wouldn't be the first time we've seen the feds cover some shit up, right? But they said, we're waiting for the DNA science to improve to then resubmit what we have left in the crime lab for further testing. And, you know, again, I'm no scientist, but it's like, how long can this stuff sit in a lab? Can it go bad over time? I don't know. But some of the actual YSTR DNA from the sample found on the victim in the yogurt shop case still does exist. So they still have something to work with. It's very limited, and that's why we're awaiting for the science to improve on this, because there is very little left. With DNA research advancing so quickly, the hopes are that one day the sample obtained over 30 years ago will finally solve the case. It's everything, he says. So there you have it, man. A horrific case back from 1991. You heard all the reactions there in those clips that we shared. A lot of this is making zero sense to me. Again, it sounds like the feds are covering something up. But, you know, science continues to grow, as we said, and everyone wants answers. I mean, hell, I want answers. I'm just hearing of this, and it's turning my stomach and making me sick. Like, how can this be? But again, to the people that live there, the people that were seemingly unjustly incarcerated, unless there's people that follow that case that believe that in some way those individuals were involved. I don't know, you know, were those just coerced confessions? There's just so many unanswered questions. But this whole thing with the FBI and, oh yeah, like there's more markers now when it doesn't match. It just sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me. But there you have it, man. That's the I can't believe it's not yogurt shop murders from 1991, 4 teenage girls. Is it a federal cover-up? Will there ever be justice? What do you think of it all? Discuss it all in the comments with me. Stay tuned for updates. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for true crime news, as well as other crime news, updates, all that. If I'm missing something, fill me in on this. But HBO Max just dropped their 4-part series. Well, I think part 1 of it just on August 3rd. So this just happened. But I believe which happens with a lot of true crime cases, that multiple platforms, multiple streaming services put together, documentary series on the same cases. So that's all we're working with for now. It's sounding extremely shady, and I'm just not buying it. I'm sensing a cover up. What say you? Let's talk about it all in the comments section. Again, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more true crime news. This has been Crime Time Podcast. I'm out of here. I will be watching the mini-series, and we'll be bringing you them updates. May justice be served.